Time round we came to America and the band nearly broke up. So we didn't really go all the way. I genuinely liked that tour because we were playing the big auditoriums, but we were sending ourselves up, you know. We weren't taking it that seriously. And that came across and everybody had a good time. Hello, I'm Ray Davies of the Kinks in the studio for Sleepwalker, Misfits and Low Budget.
Of all the British bands that have stormed America's shores in the early 1960s, none have had a longer or more checkered career than the Kinks. The Kinks weren't as cute as the Beatles or as nasty as the Stones. They were an odd mix of campiness and raw power, as likely to kiss each other on the lips as they were to have full-blown punch-outs right on stage. Their music ranged from folksy ballads to elaborate rock operas, musical mood swings that reflected the complex personality of the Kinks' lead singer, the one and only Ray Davies. Maybe that's why it took the Kinks so long to really get a hold on American audiences. Now, strange as it seems, it wasn't until the late 1970s that the Kinks staged a full-fledged U.S. tour, finally introducing themselves to arena loads of American rockers who'd never seen Ray Davies hamming his way through Lola, or Dave Davies belting out the classic garage rock riffs of You Really Got Me. What they discovered in Ray was a rock singer unlike any they'd ever encountered, an actor as much as a vocalist, changing his attitude, his demeanor, his very look with every song. And this is how he does it. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray Davies of the Kinks.
It's finding a character. I know it sounds strange, I keep referring to this as if it's some other person, but writing a song and singing is like discovering another person. You find your way inside that person. I don't think there's any difference between being a singer and, say, being a dancer or a ballet dancer or an actor. You find your way into the role, and as soon as you become absorbed by that character, it's easy to sing it or dance it or act it. And maybe that's what it is, finding my way inside the song.
Everybody got problems, buddy, I got mine. When midnight comes around, I start to lose my mind. When the sun puts out the light, I join the creatures of the night. Oh yeah. I'm a sleepwalker. I'm a night stalker. I'm a streetwalker. I'm a night walker. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh I'm a sleepwalker.
That's the title song from the album that began their American resurgence in 1977, The Kinks and Sleepwalker. The album made it to number 21 in the American charts, the first Kinks album in 8 years to make the American Top 40. I asked Ray Davies about the circumstances behind Sleepwalker.
There was something in my character that was going through a dark person. It's like groping in the dark for something new to do and to be. I think that's what kicked that song off. Although the song may just sound like a rock and roll song, there are parts of it that really say a lot about the way I was feeling, and certainly the way the band was. Again, I keep going back to the band, because I do kind of, I'm the spokesman for the band, really, in those songs. But I do feel that's a point in time, and it says a bit about what the band was going through then.
What the band, and particularly Ray, had been going through was a period of musical experimentation, a series of rock operas and mini-musicals that had met with mixed public response. With Sleepwalker, Ray Davies decided to abandon the theatricality and return to writing straight-ahead rock and roll songs.
firstly, I said to the band, look, I'm going to make it easy for you now. I'm just going to make a normal record. And, 10 tracks, 12 tracks aside, or an album. And then I thought, oh, well, isn't this going to be easy? I just have to write songs. I don't have to think about their place in the plot or the play or whatever. Then I found myself writing a whole concept record. I believe that people write a set of songs for an album, and it becomes a concept album. Born in the USA was a concept album, in my opinion. So even though the writer wasn't really trying to do it. But I thought when we made Sleepwalker that it would be a nice bunch of songs. But there is some sort of thread through it. Well, a strange thing, I remember very clearly taking the band into an office somewhere and just playing assorted sounds and tracks to them, not necessarily Kinks songs. And I said, the atmosphere I want on this record is really dark, and it's someone who doesn't know where he's going. So I gave him a sort of brief of what I wanted to do before I wrote it. I knew in my mind what I wanted, but I didn't have the songs yet. And that happens a lot with me.
Jukebox music. It's only music. Only jukebox music. Only jukebox music. It's only music. Only jukebox music. It's only music. Only jukebox music. Music. Only jukebox music. Music. Only jukebox music. Music. Jukebox music. Jukebox music. Jukebox music, oh the jukebox music.
From Sleepwalker, that's the Kinks and Jukebox music. There's a line in that song about how the girl believes the stories are real and how she lets the music dictate the way that she feels. I asked Ray Davies about that idea, the danger of people identifying too closely with the songs and the people who sing them.
Now think about it, I wish I'd written it another way, but it is kind of direct and it does say what I was thinking about. I think it's someone who actually believes that the music will get them out of their situation and help them out of a bad patch, you know. And there is a tendency, when you're unhappy about yourself and your life, you do tend to be drawn to something, whether it's a film or a book. You say, well, what's right about this book? What the character in this book or this record do if they were in my position? And you do look for things like that to help you through your own situation.
When Sleepwalker was released in the spring of 1977, the punk movement was just beginning to have an impact on mainstream music. Class struggle and alienation, a significant theme in many punk songs, had been recurring topics in Ray Davies' lyrics for years. He felt energized by the punk rebellion. So in 1977, Davies and the Kinks released another record, an unlikely holiday single called Father Christmas.
Well, I was an obsessed maniac. I thought, I've got to make a Christmas song. I've got this great idea. I did actually see some kids abusing a Father Christmas outside Harrods. It was a guy, you know, on the street ringing a bell. I thought it'd be wonderful to do it. Wonderful to write this song, an anti-Christmas song. Yeah, or a Christmas song that touches on something a little bit serious and but at the same time sounds like a good rock and roll record. And I took a long time making a record. You know, didn't want it to sound like a charity rip-off record. So I've spent lots of time getting the sounds right. Got a great drum sound and a great, I think the record is a really good construction. And I'd be proud, to have it on any record, because sometimes these seasonal type things, do rate up there with, Zamfir and his pan flute. So I wanted it to be a proper record. And I think we achieved that. I'm very pleased with that track, and the bells as well. The bells fascinated me for a week. I mean, I was going around London recording bells, and in the end we did it on a keyboard in the studio.
When I was small, I believed in Santa Claus, though I knew it was my dad. And I would hang up my stocking at Christmas, open my presents and I'd be glad. But the last time I played Father Christmas, I stood outside a department store. A gang of kids came over and mugged me and knocked my reindeer to the floor. He said, Father Christmas, give us some money. Don't mess around with those silly toys. We'll beat you up if you don't hand it over. We want your bread, so don't make us annoyed. Give all the toys to the little rich boys. Father Christmas, give us some money. We got no time for your silly toys. Father Christmas, please hand it over. We'll beat you up, so don't make us annoyed. Father Christmas, give us some money. Don't mess around with those silly toys. We'll beat you up if you don't hand it over. We want your bread, so don't make us annoyed. Give all the toys to the little rich boy.
Released in 1977, that's the Kinks and Father Christmas. When we come back, the Misfits will be everywhere. I'm Redbeard, and you're in the studio with the Kinks.
I've got it.
To In the Studio, this week focusing on 3 late 70s albums by the Kinks. I'm Redbeard. Part of Ray Davies' charm has always been his sense of detachment, his ability to question himself and his place in society. Almost all of his songs have at least a touch of autobiography in them. Perhaps none are more compelling than the title song from the Kinks' 1978 album called Misfits.
When I got Misfits together, I remember very clearly, it was 77, 78. We were rehearsing in a church hall, a really cold church hall near Conk Studios. And I just got the drummer playing this stuff, and I said, play this backbeat, Mick, and play this keyboard, John. And then I came out with the lyric of Misfits on the spot. I wrote it on the spot because it had been in the back of my head like for 3 or 4 months. I was researching it and it was in my head and I made a few notes, but I didn't really write it until I got there with the band. And it was a feeling, the whole record was somebody who made himself an outcast or didn't want to fit in with where he was at, or somebody who was thinking of getting out of a relationship or out of a living environment. And so that was maybe the thread on that record. So I do all this before I write the songs. And maybe I sense it's the time to do it or be like it. So when I look back at all these songs now, even though I've moved on and I've written them for other characters, they do mirror what my life was about, right? At that time. It's quite interesting.
You've been sleeping in a field, but you look real rested. You set out to outrage, but you can't get arrested. You say your image is new, but it looks well tested. You're lost without a crowd, yet you go your own way. You say your summer's gone, now the winter is crawling in. They say that even in your day, somehow you never could quite fit in. Though it's cold outside, I know the summer's gonna come again. Because you know what they say, every dog has his day. You're a misfit, afraid of yourself, so you run away and hide. You've been a misfit all your life. Why don't you join the crowd and come inside? You was around this town like you've lost your way. And you've changed in your days, yet you threw it all away. But you know what they say, every dog has his day.
The title cut from Misfits. Again, Ray Davies of the Kinks.
It's a poetic song, although there's nothing clever in the song, really. What I like about it, it sets up images. The lyric sets up images. And I remember thinking about that song. At the time I was going to pubs a lot, not to drink that much, but just socially, because a friend of mine was in Monty Python. He used to live nearby. And a few writers, hacks we call them in England. I used to meet with these guys and talk, and they were all kind of misfits in their own way. I think that's why people go to pubs in England. And there was one guy in particular who I used to watch, and he used to go out and he used to sleep in the hedge, in a ditch. The next day he'd come in the bar and he looked great. I said, "Where have you been?" He said, "Oh, I slept in the field last night." Well, he didn't actually say that, but that's what he had done. And maybe, seeing these people, and again, picking up from people I've been with, that's what set the idea in my head. And there's a lot of me in that. But there's a lot of me that it doesn't exploit what I am and doesn't go the whole way. I just become it in my head. I write the song, then I disappear and go somewhere else. But also I wrote that song a lot while I was in New York. It was just going around in my head.
Although the Kinks' popularity was on the rise in 1978, Ray, as always, had mixed feelings about being a rock star. The band was going through lots of personnel changes in those days, and the legendary fistfights between Ray and his brother Dave were still regular occurrences. The song called Rock and Roll Fantasy grew out of all of that, and also from something that had happened in August 1977.
Elvis Presley dying had more an effect on me than I realised. I loved his early Sun, records on the Sun label, and the guitar playing and all those records, but I was never really a big Elvis fan. But when he died, it affected me a bit. I suddenly realised the the person that really introduced me to rock music wasn't there anymore, and I've been turned into this Vegas creature. I've no idea, and it's wrong of me to assume I know what he felt, but I just wondered if he was happy with that. But that's what made me sad. But out of that, the good thing about being sad is that you can get happy again, and you write yourself out of it, and you find other things to make yourself laugh and cheer people up. And hopefully that song starts off pretty down and doomy, and it comes up to some elevated thing at the end. I like to do that. You've got to start from somewhere.
At me, look at you. You say we've got nothing left to prove. The king is dead, rock is done. You might be through, but I've just begun. I don't know, I feel free and I won't let go. Before you go, there's something you ought to know. Dead is a felony, lives for our music. It's the only thing that gets him by. He's watched us grow, and he's seen all our shows. He's seen us low and he's seen us high. Oh, but you and me keep thinking that the world's just passing us by. Don't wanna spend my life living in a rock and roll fantasy. Don't wanna spend my life living on the edge of reality. Don't wanna waste my life hiding away Don't wanna spend my life living in a rock and roll fantasy.
From the Misfits album, that's Rock and Roll Fantasy, which in 1978 became the Kinks' first top 40 single of the 70s. And what did they do to follow it up? They went low budget. And we'll hear that next. I'm Redbeard, and you're in the studio with the Kinks.
To In the Studio, I'm Ray Davies of the Kinks with Redbeard.
Thanks, Ray. In 1979, the Kinks completed their comeback trilogy with the release of Low Budget. It would go to number 11 in the American charts and give the Kinks their first gold album in 13 years. Ray Davies remembers the feeling.
Well, we'd had number ones albums and things overseas in England and stuff, but in America, but coming from nowhere again, it was like having a second opportunity to do it, because we didn't really do it first time. The first time round we came to America and the band nearly broke up, so we didn't really go all the way. It was fun, and it's great to see the audience love the work, and they genuinely liked that tour, because we were playing the big auditoriums, but we were sending ourselves up, we weren't taking it that seriously, and that came across, and everybody had a good time.
Circumstance has forced my hand to be a cup
Once again, without really meaning to, Ray Davies had constructed a concept album with low budget. It was filled with songs about life getting harder, about coal strikes and rising oil prices, issues that had struck him while he was living in London and New York.
Low budget was quite serious, but it's quite funny also. It's like this, as I said, Dickensian character going out and saying, "Oh, forget it, who cares anyway? I'll go on stage and I'll be myself," you know. It's it reeks of, you know, dripping makeup and beer bellies and everything going wrong. I like that. I mean, and the audience really, I remember that before we started the tour in Dallas, we played a club in Dallas to start off the tour, and some kids drove all the way from Montana or somewhere to see the show, and they said, "We really relate to this record. It's good." And there was I thinking I'd written something that upset me when I was in London about the strikes, or in New York about the gas sting, and I thought it was really my problem. But people relate to it. It's good.
To get the rest of the Kinks into the spirit of things, Ray took some unusual steps before recording Low Budget.
We recorded a lot of that album in New York, which is different for us. But it was, again, called Low Budget. So what I did, I said, this is my philosophy for the whole album. So I got the guys over on sort of cheap Apex fares to New York and put them in a really rotten hotel. I got the guys in touch with themselves after. I didn't want them to get drunk with the success, or this mega success we had with Sleepwalker that got to number 40 in the charts. I don't want this to go to their heads. So I brought them over to do this thing. And we did the album in 2 weeks, did the backtracks in 2 weeks. But it took about a month to mix it. So because we cut a lot of corners here on the recording, so I had to cure all that in the mixing.
Did I see a 9-stone weakling with northerly knees? I did my knees bend, press ups, touch my toes. Had another sneeze and I blew my nose. I looked in the mirror at my pigeon chest. I had to put on my clothes because it made me depressed. Surely there must be a way for me to change the shape I'm in. Dissatisfied with what I am, I wanna be a better man. Superman, Superman, wish I could fly like Superman. Superman, Superman, I wanna be like Superman.
I'd like to fly, but I can't even swim. From Low Budgets, that's the Kinks. By 1979, Ray Davies was spending a lot of his time in the United States, and that change of perspective is evident on the songs from Low Budget. There's no better example than the song called Catch Me Now, I'm Falling.
A friendship had just broken up with me in my life, so I said I was angry about that because I felt that the person that broke up the friendship was done for professional reasons, nothing to do with friendship. And so I wanted to write a song about that, and that's where the element "I needed you when you were down" or something. No, you needed me when you were down, but now I want you. You're nowhere to be found. Hey. And then I was thought about, well, I think America was being put on a bit at the time, unjustly. Sometimes, you know, everybody gets what they deserve, but I think the world was definitely against America then, and I felt that. So I used the two stories and put them into one, so I personalised it. It's always good to personalise it and then stick in a few global comments here and there. It sounds very simple, but it's really nice to construct it that way. But then it just comes out as a rock song, right? You know, that's all it is. In the end of it, it's going back to jukebox music. It's just jukebox music at the end of the day. That's all it is. But in getting there and finding a way to making the finished record, you go through all these wonderful exploratory exercises and find out about yourself. And but at the end of it, it's just a piece of vinyl or CD, whatever CDs are made of.
I remember when you were down and you needed a helping hand. I came to feed you, but now that I need you, you won't give me a second glance. Now I'm calling all citizens from all over the world. This is Captain America calling. I bailed you out when you were down on your knees, so will you catch me now? I'm falling.
We'll be back in the studio after this. This is Red Beard, and I'd like to thank Ray Davies for flashing back to the past with us this week. We wish him and the Kinks the best with their new album, UK Jive.